Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
As the Commissioner mentioned, as we've been talking about all day, as well as the institutional investment community, we need technical expertise to be able to develop bankable projects, and that tends to reside in the technologies and the expertise within the private sector that's already within our portfolio. So we have these resources, and to note that Your Good platform has just made an announcement of about I think $300 to $400 million commitment to the green economy and green infrastructure. So just really wanted to put that into context about how you would see the NDCs as a potential instrument in the platform. But the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I represent the Open Society Foundation. So after Gates, that's the second largest philanthropy in the world. So we give away $1.2 to $1.5 billion to really promote open societies and democracies. We've got an impact investment arm, that's the Soros Economic Development Fund. I lead the investment team at the fund. We've invested for 25 years in emerging markets, including Africa. And I think, when we look at there's a need for capital flows. Mm-hmm. There's a need to unlock the potential to get private capital to partner up in these public-private partnerships. I think blended finance is a bit the talk of the town. It is not a new constellation or new approach. I think we've seen some successes. What we want, of course, is to see that the catalytic part that I represent, the philanthropic capital that is concessionary, that doesn't need to give back any returns to investors, that we come in and de-risk in the pursuit of really impact by crowding in more private capital. And I very much agree with that point of view, but I also want to call the attention to an appropriate risk taken by institutional investors and pension funds, commercial investors. What we don't want is to subsidize DFIs, MDBs. We do not want to subsidize unnecessarily, CDBQ in terms of reaching profits. We all want a return on our pensions. That is understandable. But I think there's a conversation to be had in terms of what is the return that would be adequate, and also step back and saying that this is all about, the intersection between democracy, justice, and equity. Even if we talk about green infrastructure, we should also talk about energy access and really about impact. So we really believe in public-private partnerships, what you're doing as an organization to really bring, the stakeholders together. What we also believe in is that the capital needs to come from the continent, right? It cannot only be external investors that come in. And I think that's a journey that we need to push for. Very last comment is, this deserves, and I think you talked to this is more than just, capital. This is about policies and regulations. And clearly, systems change, and that is, that comes with, engagement. I think civil society, what we're trying to do with a commitment of $400 million is really to assist governments to push for these green, just reforms.
Doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.